Imagine if someone says one sentence and your whole day collapses. You replay it for hours. You rehearse the comeback you'll never say. You wonder why their opinion still owns you. Most people spend their lives chasing respect, approval, and understanding. Buddhism points in the opposite direction. It reveals that suffering doesn't begin with difficult people. It begins the moment your peace depends on them. This changes everything. Forget the advice to be stronger or stop caring. The Buddha's path is far more radical. In the next few minutes, you'll uncover 10 timeless principles that quietly dissolve people-pleasing emotional dependence and inner conflict, replacing them with unshakable calm. Principle number 10 is the insight most people never truly understand, and I've saved a powerful bonus lesson for the very end that brings every teaching together. Stay with me, because this may be the moment you finally stop giving your peace away. Number 1, the wound before the world. What if the people who hurt you today are only pressing a wound that was never healed yesterday? Sit with that question for a moment. You may believe someone else's words stole your peace, but the deeper truth waits quietly beneath the surface. Every reaction has a history longer than the moment that triggered it. Therefore, if your peace depends on changing people, your suffering will keep finding new faces. But there is one insight that can free you forever. Stay with this until the end. Imagine an old temple bell with a hidden crack. It does not begin echoing because it is struck. The strike only reveals the fracture that was already there. Your heart often moves the same way. A harsh opinion, a cold glance, or a careless sentence does not always create the pain. It simply uncovers what has been waiting in silence. The deepest freedom is not escaping difficult people. It is becoming someone they can no longer control. But how do you become that person? Close your eyes for a single breath. Imagine hearing your own name spoken with criticism. Do not chase the words. Instead, gently search for where the ache first appears inside your body. Is it your chest becoming heavy, your throat tightening, your stomach sinking? The body often remembers what the mind has forgotten. Therefore, awareness begins where judgment ends. Ask yourself with complete honesty, when did I first begin needing others to confirm my worth? Which criticism hurts me more than it logically should? Am I reacting to today or remembering yesterday? These questions are not meant to blame your past. They quietly reveal the invisible chains that keep your present tied to old suffering. A wise teacher once said, "No one can enter the fortress of your mind unless you quietly leave the gate unlocked." The gate opens each time you abandon yourself to earn acceptance. But the moment you witness your wound without running from it, something extraordinary begins to change. Other people may still speak the same words. Therefore, they no longer decide who you are. The day you stop asking people to protect your peace is the day they lose the power to disturb it. 2. The invisible contract. Every time you seek approval, your mind quietly signs an agreement without asking your permission. It whispers, "I will feel safe only if you accept me." That promise seems harmless at first, but each time you repeat it, another piece of your freedom slips away. The chains you cannot see are the hardest to remove. Therefore, before you ask why people have power over your emotions, ask a gentler question. Who wrote this invisible contract, and why have you never questioned its terms? Many of us learned this agreement long before we understood it. A smile became a reward. Rejection became a warning. Slowly, the heart concluded that love must be earned instead of received. But a life spent chasing approval becomes a life spent abandoning yourself. Every compliment feels like relief. Every criticism feels like danger. Therefore, your peace begins changing shape to match the expectations of others. Imagine trying to stay warm by borrowing sunlight from another person's window. For a moment, the light feels comforting, but the instant they close the curtain, the warmth disappears. Approval works the same way. It can brighten a difficult day, but it cannot become the foundation of your inner life. A borrowed light will always leave you waiting for someone else to open the window again. Close your eyes for a quiet breath. Picture yourself placing a small key into another person's hand. Look carefully. They never reached for it. They never demanded it. You offered it yourself. That key unlocks your confidence, your calm, your sense of worth. Therefore, the moment you recognize this choice, you also discover that you can gently take the back without anger or blame. Ask yourself with complete honesty, who currently holds the key to my emotional peace? What praise am I secretly hungry for? If nobody approved of me tomorrow, who would remain? These questions are not meant to frighten you. They are meant to return you to yourself. A wise teacher once said, "No one can keep what you never surrender." The strongest mind does not refuse love. It simply refuses to depend on it for its identity. Therefore, the day you stop asking the world to confirm your value is the day the world quietly loses its power to define you. 3. Borrowed identity. Perhaps your personality is not entirely yours. Pause before rejecting that thought. Much of what you call me may have been quietly shaped by the fear of rejection. You learned when to stay silent, when to smile, when to agree. Not because your heart chose those responses, but because they felt safer. A borrowed face can never breathe freely. Therefore, before asking how to become emotionally untouchable, ask something far more courageous. Which parts of your life are truly yours? Many people spend years protecting an identity that was never born from inner truth. They become the reliable one, the agreeable one, the strong one, or the one who never says no. Others applaud these roles, but the soul grows tired beneath the costume. Every performance earns acceptance, but every performance always asks you to leave a piece of yourself waiting behind the curtain. Slowly, exhaustion begins to feel normal. Imagine a young tree tied tightly to another tree. It remains standing, but it never learns the strength of its own roots. The support once offered comfort, but over time it quietly became a prison. The same happens when your identity depends on how others see you. Their opinions become the ground beneath your feet. Therefore, every change in their approval feels like an earthquake inside your heart. Close your eyes for a gentle moment. Picture yourself standing alone in a wide, silent field. Now remove every label one by one. Your profession disappears. Your achievements fade. Your relationships become still. Even the names others have given you drift away like leaves in the wind. What remains is simple awareness, untouched by praise or criticism. That quiet presence has always been there, patiently waiting beneath every role you have played. Ask yourself with honesty, which part of me exists only to be accepted? What role am I exhausted from performing? Who am I without an audience? The answers may arrive softly, but they carry immense freedom. The strongest identity is not the one admired by the world. It is the one that no longer needs permission to exist. Therefore, when you finally stand on the roots of your own awareness, the opinions of others become passing weather, not the climate of your soul. 4. Compassion without chains. Most people believe that holding on is proof of love. They fear that if they stop chasing, fixing, or pleasing, love will disappear. But this is where quiet wisdom begins to separate illusion from truth. Love and attachment may look alike from a distance, but they grow from different roots. Love frees, attachment bargains. Therefore, if another person's choices constantly decide the state of your heart, Perhaps what feels like love is asking for a deeper look. Attachment speaks in silent negotiations. It whispers, "Stay the way I need you to be, therefore I can feel safe." It asks for reassurance again and again, hoping certainty will finally silence fear. But fear cannot be comforted by control. The more tightly you hold another person, the more tightly anxiety holds you. This is why so many caring hearts become exhausted. They are carrying a burden that love never asked them to carry. Imagine a river flowing through a quiet valley. It nourishes every shore without asking the mountains to thank it. It does not stop because one traveler ignores its beauty. It does not change its direction because another misunderstands its purpose. The river simply gives what it can. Therefore, it remains free. Compassion moves the same way. It offers warmth without demanding ownership. It serves without making invisible contracts. Close your eyes for a gentle moment. Picture yourself placing a single flower onto flowing water. You do not follow it downstream. You do not call it back. You simply watch it drift beyond your sight. Feel the strange peace that appears when kindness no longer depends on recognition. In that quiet release, your heart loses nothing. Instead, it discovers a freedom it had forgotten. Ask yourself with complete honesty, when do I confuse caring with controlling? Can I love without needing to be chosen? Where has attachment quietly disguised itself as loyalty? These questions are not meant to weaken your relationships. They are meant to purify them. A wise teacher once said, "The heart becomes unshakable when it gives without trying to possess." Therefore, the greatest act of love is not convincing someone to stay. It is remaining deeply compassionate while no longer asking another person to carry the weight of your inner peace. 5. The silent battlefield. The greatest battles are rarely fought with words. They begin in the silent space just before the first thought takes shape. Most people believe their suffering starts with what someone said. But the deepest struggle begins much earlier. In the instant awareness quietly falls asleep. Noise enters only after silence has been abandoned. Therefore, if you wish to become untouchable, learn to protect the place where every reaction is born. Imagine a fortress standing peacefully through countless seasons. It does not fall because the enemy is powerful. It falls because one gate remained unguarded. The mind is no different. One unnoticed thought enters. It becomes a story. The story becomes an emotion. The emotion becomes a reaction you later regret. Therefore, emotional freedom is not created by winning arguments. It is created by noticing the first visitor before it settles into your home. Close your eyes for a quiet breath. Do not search for peace. Simply notice the very next emotion that appears. Before calling it fear, anger, sadness, or disappointment, observe it as if you were watching morning mist rising over a still lake. It comes without your invitation. It changes without your effort. It eventually fades without asking your permission. In that simple act of witnessing, something remarkable happens. You discover that awareness remains still even while emotions continue to move. Now ask yourself with complete honesty, what emotion appears before anger? What thought always begins the downward spiral? Can I witness a feeling before becoming it? These questions are not looking for perfect answers. They quietly train the mind to pause where it once rushed. A wise teacher once said, "The strongest person is not the one who controls every emotion, but the one who no longer obeys every emotion." Therefore, your inner peace is not protected by forcing the mind to become silent. It is protected by returning again and again to the quiet awareness that was never disturbed in the first place. That is the gate no one else can enter unless you choose to leave it open. Calm is not surrender. Silence is not always a sign of wisdom. Sometimes it is the quiet voice of fear wearing the mask of peace. Many people avoid conflict because they believe calm means never disturbing anyone, but a heart that constantly hides its truth slowly becomes divided within itself. Still, water can reflect the moon or conceal the storm. Therefore, the question is not whether you remain silent. The question is why. There is a silence born from awareness. It does not rush to defend itself because it has nothing to prove, but there is another silence that trembles beneath the surface. It fears rejection. It fears disappointing others. It fears losing the approval that has become emotional shelter. From the outside, both kinds of silence appear identical, but inside, one creates freedom, while the other quietly breeds resentment. Imagine a great mountain standing beneath an endless sky. The wind arrives with tremendous force. It whistles, pushes, and demands attention. Yet the mountain never argues with it. Not because it is weak, but because it knows what cannot be moved. The wind eventually passes. The mountain remains. This is the strength that quiet wisdom offers. It is not passive. It is deeply rooted. Therefore, calm is not surrender. Calm is unwavering clarity. Close your eyes for a gentle moment. Picture yourself standing like that mountain. Harsh words move around you like changing weather. Feel the urge to react. Notice it without obeying it. Let each sentence pass across your awareness like clouds crossing the horizon. You do not need to chase every storm. You only need to remember where you stand. Now ask yourself with complete honesty, am I peaceful or afraid of conflict? What truth have I buried just to stay accepted? Does my silence create freedom or resentment? A wise teacher once said, "A quiet mind does not hide from truth. It speaks only when truth serves peace." Therefore, becoming untouchable does not mean becoming voiceless. It means speaking from inner stillness instead of wounded fear, while allowing your peace to remain stronger than every passing storm. 7. The birthplace of emotion. Every emotion has a birthplace, but it is rarely the event you can see. We often believe disappointment begins when someone lets us down, or anger begins when someone speaks carelessly. But look more deeply. Before the emotion rises, an unseen expectation has already prepared the ground. Expectation writes the script that suffering performs. Therefore, if you only fight the emotion, the same story will return, wearing a different face. Think about the last time your heart felt deeply disappointed. Perhaps someone failed to understand you. Perhaps they did not return your kindness, your effort, or your loyalty. The pain seemed to come from their actions. But beneath that moment lived a quiet expectation that whispered they should have acted differently. Expectations are not wrong by themselves, but when they become silent demands, they begin to imprison the heart they were meant to protect. Imagine a single spark falling onto stone. It disappears without consequence. Now imagine that same spark landing on dry grass that has waited through a long season without rain. Within moments, a wildfire begins. The spark is not the whole story. The hidden dryness made the fire possible. Your emotions often move the same way. A careless word is only the spark. The expectation waiting beneath it becomes the fuel. Therefore, wisdom does not only examine the flame, it gently searches for the dry grass. Close your eyes and recall your last disappointment. Do not replay the conversation. Do not revisit the faces. Instead, quietly ask yourself, what was I expecting that life did not promise? Sit with the answer without judgment. Feel how the heart begins to soften when it sees its own hidden demands. Now reflect with complete honesty. Which expectation hurts me again and again? What outcome do I secretly demand from others? What happens if I loosen that demand? A wise teacher once said, Freedom begins where expectation ends. Therefore, becoming untouchable is not about expecting less from life. It is about releasing the belief that your peace must wait for life to unfold exactly as you imagined. When expectation loosens its grip, suffering quietly loses its script. 8. Starving the false self. The false self rarely survives on confidence. It survives on constant attention. Every compliment, every comparison, every argument quietly becomes another meal. It whispers that you must be noticed, defended, admired, or proven right. But the more you feed that voice, the hungrier it becomes. What is not fed slowly forgets how to rule. Therefore, the path to becoming untouchable is not strengthening the false self. It is gently refusing to keep it alive. Notice how easily the mind reaches for validation. A stranger misunderstands you, but an urge appears to explain yourself. Someone receives praise, but a quiet comparison begins. An opinion challenges yours, but the need to win suddenly feels urgent. None of these moments begin with peace. They begin with an identity afraid of becoming invisible. But awareness quietly asks a different question. Who is it that feels threatened? Imagine an ancient throne standing alone in an abandoned hall. Years pass. No one claims it. No one fights over it. Slowly, moss covers the seat where pride once demanded obedience. Power disappears, not because it was defeated, but because it was no longer worshipped. The false self fades in the same quiet way. Therefore, what you stop feeding slowly loses its influence over your heart. Close your eyes for a gentle moment. Picture your need for validation sitting on that empty throne. It waits for you to return, to defend yourself, to seek applause, to prove your worth once again. But this time, simply walk past it. Feel the freedom of choosing silence over self-importance. You lose nothing that truly belongs to you. Now ask yourself with complete honesty, what part of me constantly asks to be admired? Which argument did I join only to defend an identity? What would happen if I simply let it pass? A wise teacher once said, "The quietest victory is the one that leaves nothing to conquer." Therefore, every time you refuse to feed the false self, your awareness grows stronger, your peace grows deeper, and the opinions of others gradually lose the power to disturb your inner world. 9. The freedom beyond respect. Respect feels precious because every human heart longs to be seen. But there is a quiet danger hidden inside that longing. The moment your peace depends on being respected, your freedom begins to depend on other people's changing minds. Today, they admire you. Tomorrow, they misunderstand you. If your worth rises and falls with their opinions, your inner world can never truly rest. Therefore, the final prison is not disrespect itself. It is the need to be protected from it. Many people spend their lives managing impressions instead of cultivating awareness. They carefully choose every word, every action, every decision, hoping no one will think less of them. But no life can escape misunderstanding. No heart can satisfy every expectation. The one who cannot be diminished cannot be defeated. That strength is not built by convincing the world. It is built by no longer asking the world to decide your value. Imagine the moon resting peacefully in the night sky. Wolves howl from distant hills with all their strength. Their voices fill the darkness, but the moon never becomes smaller because they howl. It neither argues nor seeks approval. It simply continues to shine according to its own nature. Therefore, true inner freedom is not found in silencing every critic. It is found in remembering that another person's judgment cannot rewrite your essence. Close your eyes for a gentle moment. Imagine harsh words drifting toward you from a great distance. Do not push them away. Do not invite them closer. Simply watch them dissolve before they ever reach your heart. Notice the quiet space between their voice and your awareness. That space has always existed. Wisdom simply teaches you to live there. Now ask yourself with complete honesty, whose opinion changes my mood the most? Why does that opinion hold such power? What if my worth never depended on agreement? A wise teacher once said, "No one can reduce the value of a heart that has stopped measuring itself." Therefore, the day you stop asking others to confirm your worth is the day you become truly untouchable. Your peace no longer waits for permission. It quietly becomes your natural way of being. 10. Becoming untouchable. Here is the truth that has been waiting quietly since the beginning of this journey. The people who disturbed your peace never truly possessed it. They only revealed where you had unknowingly stored it. Every fear of rejection, every hunger for approval, every attachment, every expectation became a place where your peace was left in someone else's hands. But nothing that was given away through unawareness cannot be gently reclaimed through awareness. Freedom begins where dependence quietly ends. Think of a candle resting inside a clear glass lantern. Outside, the wind grows louder. The rain falls harder. The storm uses all its strength trying to reach the flame. Yet the candle continues burning because its protection was built from within, not borrowed from the weather. This is the quiet strength of a disciplined mind. Life will still bring criticism. People will still misunderstand you. Circumstances will still change. But your inner light no longer asks the storm for permission to shine. Close your eyes for one slow breath. Imagine every piece of your peace returning to you. Take it back from every opinion that defined you. Take it back from every relationship that convinced you to abandon yourself. Take it back from every fear that whispered you were never enough. Feel it settling gently inside your own heart, where it always belonged. Stay there for a moment. Notice how nothing outside of you is required for this peace to exist. Now ask yourself with complete honesty, what power am I ready to reclaim today? Which attachment no longer deserves my energy? If my peace belonged only to me, how would I live differently tomorrow? Do not rush to answer. Let your life become the answer. Remember, becoming untouchable does not mean building walls around your heart. It means building roots beneath it. Love deeply, speak truthfully, walk gently, but never place your inner peace into hands that cannot protect it. The day you stop asking the world to guard your peace is the day the world quietly loses the power to disturb it. That is the beginning of real freedom. That is the beginning of awakening. Bonus principle: the empty hands. The strongest person is not the one who holds on the longest. It is the one who recognizes the exact moment holding on becomes another form of suffering. Many burdens disguise themselves as responsibility. Many attachments wear the clothing of love. But wisdom quietly asks a question that changes everything. Does this still nourish my heart? Or am I carrying it because I fear who I will become without it? Empty hands can receive what clenched fists never will. Therefore, every act of letting go creates space for a deeper kind of peace. Most people imagine that release is an act of loss. But look carefully. A tree does not mourn every leaf that falls. It trusts the season more than its fear. In the same way, your heart was never meant to cling to every expectation, every regret, every opinion, or every version of yourself that has already served its purpose. What you refuse to release quietly becomes the weight that keeps you from walking freely. Imagine the open sky at dawn. Clouds drift across its vastness. Some are bright, others are heavy with rain. Yet the sky never struggles to hold them. It never chases them away. It simply allows them to pass. Your awareness carries the same quiet strength. Thoughts arrive, emotions move through you, attachments ask to remain. But awareness does not need to imprison any of them. Therefore, freedom begins the moment you stop treating passing experiences as permanent possessions. Now open both of your palms. Take one slow breath in. With every gentle exhale, imagine placing one attachment into the wind. Release the need to be understood. Release the fear of disappointing others. Release the old story that says your worth must be earned. Feel the quiet space that appears when your hands no longer cling. Ask yourself with complete honesty, what am I afraid will happen if I let go? Which burden have I mistaken for responsibility? What would inner freedom feel like in this very moment? A wise teacher once said, "The heart that releases willingly becomes light enough to walk anywhere." Therefore, your greatest strength is not found in what you keep. It is revealed by what you peacefully choose to leave behind. People do not control your emotions. They activate attachments that were already living inside you. The path to becoming untouchable is not resisting people. It is seeing, understanding, and dissolving those attachments through awareness. Quick summary: the wound before the world. Your greatest emotional pain did not begin with the people around you. It began with the beliefs you formed about yourself. Every painful reaction reveals an older attachment waiting to be seen. Until you heal the root, different people will keep triggering the same suffering. Freedom begins when you stop blaming the trigger and start understanding the wound. The invisible contract. Every time you seek approval, you unknowingly trade your inner peace for someone else's opinion. People-pleasing is not kindness when it costs your authenticity. The moment your happiness depends on another person's validation, your freedom begins to disappear. Breaking this invisible contract is the first step toward emotional independence. Borrowed identity. Much of what you call your personality may simply be a collection of survival habits. Fear of rejection often shapes the identity we present to the world. True confidence is discovered only when you stop performing for acceptance. Your real self appears when the need to impress quietly fades. Compassion without chains. Buddhist compassion does not require emotional dependence. You can care deeply without making someone responsible for your happiness. Attachment creates suffering because it demands certainty from an uncertain world. Real love gives freely without asking life to obey your expectations. The silent battlefield. Every emotional reaction begins long before words are spoken or actions are taken. The real battle is not outside. It is the unnoticed thought that appears inside first. Learning to observe your mind before reacting changes every relationship in your life. Awareness weakens emotional habits before they become suffering. 6. Calm is not surrender. Remaining calm does not mean accepting disrespect or avoiding difficult conversations. True calmness is the ability to respond wisely without becoming emotionally controlled. Silence has value only when it comes from clarity rather than fear. Inner strength is measured by self-mastery, not by emotional suppression, the birthplace of emotion. Your emotions are often shaped more by hidden expectations than by external events. Disappointment grows wherever the mind insists life should unfold differently. By recognizing expectations early, emotional suffering loses much of its power. Freedom begins when awareness replaces unconscious desire. Starving the false self. The ego survives through constant attention, comparison, and validation. Every time you stop feeding those habits, its influence becomes weaker. Real confidence grows naturally when you no longer need to defend your image. Inner peace expands as the false self gradually loses control. The freedom beyond respect. Seeking respect from others often gives them silent authority over your emotions. Your worth cannot be increased by praise or reduced by criticism. Lasting confidence comes from knowing your value without needing external confirmation. When self-worth becomes internal, manipulation loses its power. Becoming untouchable. Becoming untouchable does not mean avoiding pain. It means refusing to let pain define your identity. No person has the power to control your peace unless you surrender it first. Emotional freedom grows each time you reclaim responsibility for your own mind. This is the quiet strength that Buddhist wisdom points toward. Bonus: the empty hands. Holding on to resentment, approval and fear only prolongs suffering. Letting go is not losing something valuable. It is making space for inner freedom. Peace arrives when you stop carrying what no longer belongs to you. Sometimes the greatest act of strength is simply releasing the weight you have carried for too long. The day you stop asking the world to protect your peace is the day your real transformation begins. No insult, rejection, betrayal, or criticism can imprison a mind that no longer depends on them for its identity. Buddhism reminds us that suffering is not created by the world itself, but by the attachments we quietly defend inside it. The moment you begin observing those attachments instead of obeying them, you discover a freedom that cannot be taken away by anyone. The strongest person is not the one who defeats the world, but the one who no longer needs the world to define who they are. Zen philosophy teaches that a still lake reflects the sky not because it controls the wind, but because it stops fighting every ripple. In the same way, your peace is never found by changing people. It is found by understanding the mind that keeps giving them power. So today, do not ask, "How can I make others treat me differently?" Instead ask, "Where am I still giving away my peace?" That single question can become the beginning of a completely different life. If this message spoke to your heart, please like this video, share it with someone who needs this wisdom, and tell us your thoughts in the comments below. Buddhist insights that help you build inner peace, emotional mastery, and a life that no one can disturb.